I've got other stories in front of me here about Ben Hunt, but I'm going to scrap those and go straight to you because you've got the latest goss.
Well, as I said to you a little bit earlier, I was shocked to learn because I was one of those people thinking that Ben Hunt would stay put at the Dragons for 2025, but I received a couple of texts and a call that I followed up. So this is the rumour mill, guys. This is not fact. But what I have heard is that there's some interest out of the Bulldogs for Ben Hunt. But the interesting part for the Dragons is I'm hearing that Daniel Atkinson and Braden Trindle are of great interest over there. So one of those to move to the Dragons.
For next year?
Well, I'm hearing for next year, which is unusual because I'm pretty sure Braden Trindle's obviously signed, I know, for next year. I'm pretty sure. So obviously a bit to play out there, but that's just what I'm hearing. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at the Dogs being interested in Ben Hunt.
Wowee. So this follows the story by Michael Chamis and Denny Widler in the Sydney Morning Herald, which stated St George Illawarra have granted captain Ben Hunt permission to begin negotiating with rival clubs immediately. The Dragons held a board meeting on Tuesday and decided to allow Hunt the opportunity to begin speaking with rival clubs for 2026 before the November 1 free agency date. The Dragons recently told Hunt they are not in a position to offer him a contract beyond his current deal, which expires at the end of 2025, despite holding talks with him earlier in the year about the prospect of potentially playing on. Hunt was previously wanted a release from the Dragons. However, the club, led by Flanagan, insisted he stayed put and honoured his deal for at least 12 months before they reviewed the situation.
Do you know what? I get really frustrated this because I remember the big outpour. A lot of fans were down on Hunt when he asked for that release, saying, look, it's probably the previous coach, Anthony Griffin, had a great relationship with him, wanted to remain loyal, I guess. So he had his reasons for why he wanted to move on. And the club said no, outright no. It's interesting now how, there's a full 360 with what's gone on. Do we get down on the Dragons? Are we happy for Hunt just to pack his bags and leave?
I think it's best for both.
Frustrating for fans. Oh, look, I absolutely agree with you with that. But again, I had a conversation with someone that was sort of close to the team this morning that said that the relationship isn't as broken down as what between Flanagan and Hunt as what the public and that are led to believe. So,
okay. On the text line, 866 asks, will Gus Gould go after Ben Hunt? You kind of alluded to that.
I think that's what he's doing. Mind you, I haven't spoken with Gus, and that's gospel.
So they've got Toby Sexton there, Andrew Hutchison, but they've also got young Mitch Woods coming through. So could this
Still
be
a way off.
A stopgap? Is Ben Hunt currently better than Toby Sexton?
I don't know. What do you reckon?
I mean, he's a rep player. Tourist is firing up in there.
I moved here 2.5 years ago. Didn't know this was a sport almost 2.5 years ago. And I can tell you right now, Ben Hunt is a better player than Toby Sexton. I'm sorry, Toby. You had a great year towards the end of the year.
Like Toby
Ben Hunt is a
Here
better
comes
player than Toby Sexton. Here comes
Brooksy's outraged.
You add Ben Hunt to that Bulldogs team, you're an actual premiership contender, missile.
Wow. Okay.
Honestly, would you think having Ben Hunt, someone like Hunt, a veteran, run around with those Bulldogs, that would be your top four and you could be through to week 3?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Like, it's a no-brainer.
So if we confirmed, is this for 25 or is this 26?
So it's the same as Gutho's situation.
Yeah, okay.
And
okay.
and
so
I
if he
think
gets
at the
a
moment
deal,
it's probably
okay. So just a lot of toxic relationships.
26.
So if I'm reading into this, Gutho's going to St George next year, 100%.
you reckon there's a bit of Domino's, 2 pizzas, 2 Cokes?
Do you know what worries me about that deal? The relationship with Mitch Moses. And I know people can go, oh yeah, as if that's going to matter. But if Gutho moves on, they are that tight, those two. The way Gutho's kind of been treated by the club is a bit of an issue.
Is there anyone else in that clique?
Well, no. I think some of them have moved on that were in that clique.
Okay.
But those two are as tight as their best mates. I mean, Mitch Moses is going to do what he's going to do for his own reasons. But, it's their day-to-day work. It's, like we come to an office and it's what they've known.
So the Dominoes.
And I don't know that he'd be too happy with the way the club's treated Gutho.
Watch this for a domino, Brooksy. Gutho, Dragons. Ben Hunt, Bulldogs. Josh Addo-Carr, Dragons. The circle of life keeps on turning.
3 dominoes is in a circle.
The circle of life. Do you love that circle of life if you're a Bulldog supporter and if you're a Dragons supporter? We need to hear.
Well, Brooksy,
131
if you get Gutho and Josh Addo-Carr, that's a great backline. Maybe it's Gutho and Flanagan in the halves.
Well, that's the question. We're talking about Hunt, and I think that if you add Hunt to the Bulldogs team, it's a premiership contender. What does a Gutho, Flanagan halves do for the Dragons? Do they get better? Do they make finals?
See, our listeners
Can they build
are
around
buying
it?
into this one, which is why I didn't answer straight away to the Toby Sexton situation, because you think about, and I'm being honest, Ben Hunt's last few games, but then again, so there's one here from Jason from Windsor. Sorry, did anyone see Ben Hunt's last few games? Please, he'd given up and hardly shown any interest. His best days are past him. I'm not sure about that, Jason, because what I'll buy into that is his mental state, where he's at in the game, in the club. Was he happy? That's got a lot to do with it.
And
the
the last
Mal
few,
Meninga still picked him for Australia as well.
he wasn't standing out.
Hang on,
the
are we getting
whole
something
Dragons
in?
team was not good. Like that, it's not just Ben Hunt. Like everyone's
Yeah, I
putting
get
it on
that.
him because of his salary.
I get
But
that.
at the same time, it's the whole team was not playing when they needed to win. They could have been in the finals, Missile. Like they could have been, and they just dropped the ball, literally.
Ben Hunt
and
was a big
didn't
part of
make
that, though.
Yeah, I'm not saying
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's not just him. The whole team was terrible.
Do you want another domino for your squad?
Yeah.
Here's
Please.
another article from Michael Chamis via Dom. Dragons considering making a play for West Tigers utility Adam Doueihi. As the
Wow.
fallout from the Ben Hunt saga continues, the Dragons have already spoken about contingency plans.
Well, you know what? You know what? I can also go one further to that, because Doueihi obviously is a very talented player. He's had a lot of time off. The Melbourne Storm were looking at him at one stage last year in this season through that Origin period, but Doueihi was just not going to be ready, not going to be right. There was only weeks in it.
You don't look that happy.
Oh, I'm disappointed to see a representative player go. Like that's it at the end of the day. Like we've had a good run with Ben. Like the contract when he first signed was a bit eye-popping.
They're
Like
being
it was
brutal on the text line today.
pretty big. But I think this enables Flano to be able to build a team that he wants. Defensive-minded coach. Not saying that Ben isn't, but he did miss a lot of tackles at the back end of the season. This will enable him to build a team. If he wants to go down the path of a similar structure to what the Sharkies were in 2015 and 16 and build that team, he can do that with the Dragons. Like, there's a lot of money coming off the table, and I don't know if he's going to replace them with stopgap, like 1 year, 2 year deals so he can start building. But, you know, we're going to take a hit if we're going with that halves combination, potentially Adam Doueihi in that 3-man rotation in the halves.
Would you like to see
a lot to
Atkinson-
digest,
Would you like
though.
to see Atkinson at the Sharks? At the Dragons.
Dragons. Well, who would you go?
See, that's
Braden
tough.
Trindle or Atkinson? If there was one to go, what would you, as a Dragon supporter, what would you?
I would take
stick your hand up
Trindle
to?
off the back end of the year, like what he was doing. He was
Yeah,
the
so for
Sharkies.
mine, I don't buy
Sharkies'
that
best
about
back.
Trindle off the back end of the year. That guy has played good. He's been an enormous backup for the Sharks for a long time. It's every time he's been given his opportunity, he's been able to pull something off. And again, he went next level at the back end of last season, but he's just been so consistent.
But I think the Sharkies value him, like through what he went through
They'd have
last
to.
year and gave him a second chance, and then he played well. Why would you quit on someone like that so
And not only that,
quickly
he'd feel
for
he'd
1 or
feel
2
like-
years of Ben Hunt?
Yeah, he'd feel like he'd have to be loyal to the Sharks as well on the back of being sorted out through his tough time, if you want to call
Here's
it
one
that.
of your fellow supporters on the text line, Brooksy. Mish and Missile, I'm all for Saints letting Ben Hunt go finally. Be done with this toxic situation. Rid the negative energy this guy brings. He's done nothing to help with recruitment. He's not a leader. He can't manage a game, and he has horrendous fifth tackle options. Start fresh. He's only using the club as a cash cow. He's the worst Dragons captain I've ever seen. Do a trade with one of the Queensland sides now or whoever wants him. Sev from Ride.
Sorry, guys, I disagree.
Bang.
Ben's actually a
What?
really good bloke.
Yeah, but that's a disgruntled fan. I'm a disgruntled fan too, but it's you're very much nitpicking moments. He's not that as a person. He has had moments in defence. Like what was the line there that he was saying about can't control a game? Was it or what?
Can't manage a game
Can't manage
and
a
horrendous
game.
fifth tackle
He was the
options.
reason. He was the reason why the Dragons won so many games this year. Let's be realistic here. Like, he's not a handbrake on that team this year. He was one of the stars of the team and got him through some wins. There was some very dominant performances by him. Like, I can see where the fan is coming from in that regard, but let's be real. He's been pretty pivotal. Yes, he's on a lot of money, and I can see the angst there. And yes, I think it's a good opportunity. If a guy like that doesn't want to be there, they can rebuild and start again.
Do we have a few more down years then for the Dragons?
Have they had an up year?
Well, no, this year but this year was
Hey, listen,
this year was
you
good.
see the Dogs stand.
Hey, I'm on my pedestal
They
now.
were in finals contention.
Yeah.
Like, they were.
I
until the last few
I
games.
actually think they'll make the finals next year based just off the recruitment. Well, the Ben Hunt thing throws a spanner in the works now. I was assuming with Ben Hunt at halfback, I think, and Gutho, Val Holmes, Damien Cook all on the side, and throw in a Josh Addo-Carr, I think that's a final side.
And he's building his team, right? He's brought these guys in, veterans who are going to be doing a lot of the talking, a lot of the direction. Like, when you pull Ben Hunt out of that team, you've got these guys that have won premierships, been in Origin, represented their countries. I think that he's recruited well to be able to get what he wants from the players, and these guys sort of push that.
Would they do a Sexton Hunt swap? Would that make sense for either club?
I don't know.
Would you like Sexton at your
Flano
club?
would like Sexton. I don't think he's his top player. Just quick
You
update
just
on
want
Josh Addo-Carr too, by the way. So he's been up at the Mid-North Coast. Won't say where he's had his second child. Fox. Jax. So Fox is the first one. Jax, J-A-X-X.
He called his kid Fox.
Fox and Jax. The first one's Fox. The second one's Jax. J-A-X-X. He's on his way back to Sydney and will be starting the whole process of meeting a few clubs next week. So
if you had to frame an early market, who are the favourites to get Josh Addo-Carr?
I'd absolutely, hands down, the Red V. Dragons.
St. George. There you go, Brooksy. There's some good news for you. All right. The text line has absolutely blown up. Should I get to some more NRL news, tourists, or do we need to get to an ad?
Is there more NRL news?
There is more NRL news. All right. Some text for you. Being a good bloke and a good player are two very different things, says Steve. Ben Hunt touches the ball all the time. G'day, Shaggers. 2 years almost of the Hunt saga, and then Hunt says he needs Gutho to be his halves partner because he doesn't have a first-grade quality halves partner. Then he gets told to look elsewhere. Last name Flanagan wins, says the Reptile. Swap deal with Broncos. Adam Reynolds for Ben Hunt.
Oh, I actually like that.
I think that may make sense for both sides.
It does.
Yeah,
I
potentially.
need to text somebody on that one. I like that one.
Bob from Cronulla says, I overheard Dragons admin a few weeks ago talking about Ben Hunt leaving the Dragons in a Sutherland Shire cafe. I believe Flano doesn't want him anymore at the Dragons and the club. He is toxic and talks about the club in the media. He did last season as well, and he was the Dragons captain. Dragons board meeting last night confirmed an immediate release granted. I think Hunt doesn't want to be there like last season. Dragons would be best suited to get a good deal from another club in a player swap or trade deal. No more Ben Hunt locked in a Dragons prison.
There you go.
There's a lot
Do
of
we
talk.
give him a min number? I shouldn't really know what that is.
Gus is good mates with Ben Hunt. They live close to each other in the Shire, says 866. Any truth to that?
Well, they know
Does
each
Gus
other.
live in the Shire?
Yeah, he does live in the Shire.
Okay. Dragons are a lot better without Hunt. He's a good player, but he needs high-level players around him. When his teammates play a 7 out of 10, Hunt plays 4 out of 10. Hunt is too variable. There's too much variable between great and terrible, says 144.
Well, I don't agree with that. Look, there must be just a lot of Dragons supporters listening to the show today because I've never heard so much negativity towards Ben Hunt. I mean, he's been an Australian representative. I've been on a couple of tours with him. Every time I've spoken to him, he's a great guy. And the other players love him.
Ben Hunt turns 35 years old at the start of the next season. Dragons board met last night, granted an immediate release. They don't want Hunt anymore. He has talked out and about the club negatively last season and this season. He's been critical in the media, and now it's toxic. He is the Dragons captain. No player is bigger than the club. Mundine and Tallis found that out.
Do you know what I find interesting? I have been going on and about it sort of all year, and that was the fact that Flanagan was able to turn that situation around with Ben Hunt when he wanted to leave, and then we had him okay, I'm going to stay, I'm going to remain loyal, all that sort of stuff. And this sort of talk wasn't sort of going on earlier in the season, and now it's like this. And the situation too with Lomax, how there didn't seem to be any animosity between the two, despite the fact that Lomax was saying, I don't want, he wanted to play a different position. They seem to have been able to keep it all in-house, but it's really exploded now.
Great bloke, but not a leader for our club. I agree with that bloke. Our fifth tackle options are terrible. Josh says Ben Hunt doesn't want to go to another New South Wales club. He wants to return to Queensland. That's been his whole release issue the last few years. Why would he go to another New South Wales club for 2 years when he wants to return home?
I do like the Adam Reynolds swap. I think that's great.
Ben Hunt to the Roosters. And we'll hear rubbish that he's playing for less money because they have a good culture, great coach, opportunities for future, blah, 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 says Jeremy. That could make sense.
Yeah, it could, but I don't know. You never say never with the Chooks, do you?
Josh agrees. He said, has no one tossed up Bondi for Hunt? Cheese and Walker both out for half the year. The Brown Snake on the text line says, I can see Gus making a play for Hunt. As a Dogs fan, I really admire Sexton and the way he performed this year. However, the timelines don't align with Mitch Woods. Makes no sense the Dogs fully investing in Sexton when we all know Woods is a long-term 7. Hunt for 2 years might be the answer. Harsh for Sexton, but that's the business. The Big Red V from Mascot says, Gutho is not a half. He'll go to fullback. Sexton has more future than the St. George rejects, says Lionel. And finally on the text line, Atkinson hasn't been extended by Cronulla. Trindle is off contract in 2026.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, I'm going to take a breath.
Oh, we need to
keep sending us in your Ben Hunt text 0457 736 736. This stuff is enthralling. I'm loving it.
For my little head.
Welcome back to the Run Home. You're with Michelle Bishop and James Magnuson this afternoon. Now, I've read about 1,000 text messages this afternoon. I want to hear from you. Call me. 1300 01 1170.
Get on the phone line
Call
and
us.
have a conversation.
Cyclone Tools call line 1300 01 1170. The right tool for the job. All right. A few people on the text line mused, could they do an Adam Reynolds swap for Ben Hunt? Well, Michael Maguire was on the breakfast show up in Brisbane this morning. Here's what he had to say about Adam Reynolds.
Is there a reason not to stick with Adam Reynolds as your skipper?
I don't have any reason at the moment. Once I get, I've had a long relationship with Adam. I've got a lot of time with Adam, and we've won comp together. So he's a winner. And look, he's taken that team to some pretty good places already. So as long as he's fit and healthy, he's right. He's a great leader.
I guess the key there is as long as he's fit and healthy, because it is frustrating.
Would they be like for like money if you swap the two? Ish.
Good question. Yeah, I suppose they could be. Geez, these texts are. People tell me I'm a great bloke, but I'm 110 kilos and bum knees. Does that mean I'm a chance to play half for the Broncos, Bish? That's Cough's Tiger. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying people were criticising his leadership, talking about him being a gossiper and talking about the club. That's not the personality that I know to be Ben Hunt. And I still think he plays quite well. A few questions defensively at the back end of the year, probably a lot of frustration. But that's probably just to clarify that I'm not saying everyone's a good bloke and they can get a shot and be overweight and play footy.
All right, time for a call. Greg from Wavell Heights. G'day, Greg.
How you going, mate?
Very well. What do you think
just
about
on
Ben
the
Hunt?
Ben Hunt thing. Well, I'm pretty sure that he didn't he lead the league in try assists this year.
Good question. I'll have to have a look at the stats. Yes, we're getting
Brooksy's
a yes.
giving us
pretty
a thumbs
sure
up.
he did.
Getting a yes from the bunker, and that was really quick.
So I'm thinking that these St George supporters are morons. Because why would you want to let go the bloke who led the league in try assists? They're not going to score as many tries if they don't have him there.
Fair point.
That's a very fair point. Who do you support, Greg?
I just support football, but I like watching Manly play, so I'd say I support Manly.
Would you take a Ben Hunt at your club?
Yeah, I'd get rid of Brooks.
There we go. Now Manly fans on the text line. No, I love your work, Greg. I love how you've got a decision in mind straight away.
G fans are brutal, aren't they? But I do love it.
I love it. I love it. We've got more calls coming through. Maybe take another call to us.
Whack them on through.
Let's do it. Trevor, how you going?
G'day, mate. How you going?
Hey, Trev.
That last caller that said, "Hi, Bish. How you going?"
I'm on fire this afternoon.
Excellent. That last caller that said that Ben Hunt leads the try assists. Missed tackles don't count for try assists. when he lets one in, they don't count. The second thing is that there was talk about Jaden Brayley going to St George. Is that still happening?
Oh, good
I
question.
think I did hear that.
From Newcastle.
Yeah. So, So
they've got Damien Cook now,
Cook's
so they
gone
might
to-
not need
yeah.
him, Trevor. Are you a Dragons fan, Trevor?
No, Knights.
Okay. Why? Well, would you take Ben Hunt at your club? You guys are always in the market for a half.
No way in the world. Not a chance. We've already got one broken down old halfback.
Well, I am loving our calls this afternoon. Thanks for the call, Trevor. I'm going to get to the news. I could listen to this stuff all day. I'll tell you what, Bish, I love it.
I don't.